Since the beginning of the pandemic, our offering has changed from a sharing of monetary gifts to the sharing of stories, passions, and opportunities. Because we know the world is in a kairos moment, a time when humanity will either act and help the earth start healing or not, Susie Claxton offers a word about our participation in the healing of creation's brokenness.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we'll be having our last Climate Summer Sunday, and this will be about 20 minutes or so. And I'm pleased to introduce you to Janet Barton, which will be about the history and of Shinn Park and the Arboretum and the California Nursery Historic Park that is right across the street from our church. Some of you came to the soft opening a couple months ago. And that's two pictures, one of the rose garden and one of the box trees. So Janet has worked extensively with the Roding family of our church, the combined archives of their family, and leads her group of dedicated volunteers to bring the historically important horticulture to life. She will share this treasure and how we might want to get involved.
So today, I'm basically going to tell you about the California Nursery. I volunteer at both California Nursery and at Shinn Park, in the archives for both places as well, and in the gardens for both places. So I'm getting a great feel for the history of our area. So I'm broadcasting from here, and the house is open today. If anyone wants to come for a house tour, the tours go from 1 to 4, so before 3. But I'll bring you back to the California Nursery here. So this is the office that is the office and museum of the park. And I did get an introduction. I pulled out all of my roses in my own garden many years ago, but our tortoise loved roses, and so I put them back. There are many fans of roses in this world, and tortoises are one of them. The volunteer caretakers of the California Nursery have been at it since 1994, every Thursday, almost rain and shine, smoke and earthquake, and you name it. And we have been preserving and restoring the historic landscape, which in our gardens, 1934 or so, our gardens represent what the landscape looked back then. And we love to create beautiful gardens for the public. We love to make connections with the community, and I personally love to make connections with historical and horticultural organizations. And we're always looking for volunteers. Weeding, if you don't have a green thumb, we want you for weeding. Pruning, history, docents, fundraisers, secretary, accountant, newsletter, you name it, we can use you. And this is our email address, and I'll show that at the end. So the nursery began in 1884, and John Rock was the founder, and went all the way through to a very long era of the Roding family, starting with Bruce and Sandy's grandfather, George, and then going down to their father. And I wanted to give you a little feel for where you are today. So this is a 1937 aerial, and today, if you're not on Zoom, you are about right here where it says park. Here's the Roding house right here, so you can orient yourself, and here's where Leaf is now. And here are your palm trees that you have. The nursery originally went all the way up to the railroad. So you are definitely part of us. So here's an old map, and here's the railroad here. Just want to give you an orientation of how big it was.
Janet, can you hear me?
Yes?
I'm Susie Claxton. I don't know if you can see me. Your slides have not advanced. We're still looking at a picture of the managers and owners from rock to the rail.
Oh dear.
We didn't see your overhead view. We are here.
Okay. Maybe I should stop sharing and then share again. Oh, it says my screen sharing is paused. I don't know why. So I'll stop sharing and I'll try sharing again.
Can you do anything about the fact that, oh, okay. Okay, keep trying.
Okay.
Talk to our technology guy. He said, he can't do anything.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. It says I'm screen sharing. Thank you for telling me that. That's embarrassing when you're talking to this thing that's not there. Okay, so can you see the aerial photo?
Yes.
Okay, so I was telling you this is 1937, and the green boundary here is our park. And as you can see off in the distance, it's Nursery Rose. So you all are about here where park, if you're not on Zoom, you are all here where park is, and there's your three or four palm trees at the one side of your property. Okay, so here's the old map that shows the size of the nursery, and here's the green lines here again, which is the boundaries more or less of the park. And here's an aerial. So lots of people live on the old nursery ground, and Corey Lakes was part of the nursery as well. And so there we go. So we have, so I've mainly been working, I have been working in the archives, and I get to chat with the Rodings periodically. Oops. So there is a very large archives, as many of you know, and volunteers are welcomed to help out with the archives. So if you love history, you can help sort and help with catalog and scanning. Joyce Roding would be the person to talk to. So I've written 2 articles in this Eden Journal about the nursery. One of them is how to research the nursery, because the archives are all over town. There's including at the Shinn house. So the beginning of our office gardens was 1907, when this office building was built. And here you can see there's no what we call the rose garden, which is the show gardens yet. Everyone knows about the palm trees that went to Panama Pacific International Exposition. And if you don't know about them, you can go to the museum. I created an exhibit that shows how they ended up there. And here's a picture of our palm trees, our Niles palm trees basking in the sun on the Avenue of Palms in front of the Tower of Jewels. Another one of our famous plants is the Niles crochet, which it's sported, which means it's a mutation from a pink tea rose called Mama Crochet. For a while it was called Mama Crochet, and then it was changed to Niles Crochet. And it even made it into Daryl Schramm, who's a rose expert, into his book, A History of the Rose in California, as one of the few roses that originated in California in the early days. And here's the George Roding Jr. with his growing family and some boys you may recognize. Here's one of my favorite pictures, going back in time a little bit, of Bruce Roding as a baby in 1928 with his mom, Frances. Frances was a garden designer and designed. She put together all of the beds that you may recognize this map behind here as our display garden. And she put together which daffodils, which tulips went everywhere. And she also put together floral designs that were in the adobe when people came to visit. So she was a major force for the nursery as well. So I mentioned that these are show gardens. It's not really a rose garden like other rose gardens are, like the San Jose Rose Garden or the Oakland Rose Garden. Ours was meant to show different plants each year, what you could buy. And they would put ads in the newspaper so that people from all over the Bay Area would come during rose season, and they would come during the bulb show. And I love these little cartoons. They pretty much show everything you need to know about the nursery. And then George Roding took many films from the 1930s on all through the 60s, and those have been scanned in, and you can look at them. Here's some stills from a 1942 film that's on California Revealed. If you go to our website, you can get to some of these. I haven't finished putting them all in there. I'm trying to get organized by year, but you can see here's like the entrance to the park. Here's our gate that we all recognize, and our Ragged Robin hedge with a bunch of tulips there. And then the musicians that they had to entertain people, and some of these fabulous old cars, which were brand new cars back then. And it's very fun to look at these pictures. So again, here's our gardens. Here's our gardens. It's been eaten away on the edges a little bit, but we've been taking care of these plants for 28 years that are the ones that are here now. Some of these are gone now. And prior to that, the city of Fremont had it. Let's see, his name was Errol Wills, was taking care of the garden, and it's had a lot of people taking care of it. So here's some pictures from probably the 30s. And so this is one thing is that our windmill is in a slightly different location than in the old days. So that's kind of hard for people when they're first looking at that. And you could get a ride on the truck train and go around the acres. Here's a sort of a rare picture of our gardens with roses in it in an undated pamphlet for Alameda County. So I mentioned we like to make connections with people. And so Sally Mayock Hartley, she was Sally Mayock probably when she had her picture taken here on the left. She came by and visited us in 2018, and she and Bruce got to chat for a while. And then in 2017, we had a reunion with the Kawauchi family that lived on the nursery, came with George Sr. In 1917 or thereabouts, when he bought the nursery and combined it with his Fresno nursery. So then we also have connections with the apple experts, and we had a fun time right before the pandemic when Dan Bussey and Brandon Busa came to the nursery. And the first thing, so Dan Bussey wrote this, if you can see this, this is like 5 books. It's a 7-volume books on apples in America and Canada from the beginning. And he's like the apple expert. when he lives in Michigan or Wisconsin, somewhere in the Midwest. First place he wanted to come visit was the California Nursery, and he got to meet Sandy and Bruce. And not only are we making connections through these people connections, we're going to be bringing back some of the fruits that used to grow in the historic orchard that's in the back corner of the nursery. Most of the trees have died. Just some apricots are there now that were replanted. So here's our group. We'd love to have people come. I scraped Instagram for some of the ways that people love to use our park. Just really fun to see. It made us feel really good to see how people are enjoying the park. So here's our email address, and if you want to work for the archives, contact for Joyce Bluford. So if you want to take a picture of this you can, with your camera, or I'm sure someone will take this information down and give it out. You can find our website probably just by Googling the California Nursery Garden Club. And yes, and today I just wanted to mention house is open. The Shinns had an early nursery from the 1873s to 1887. And when they stopped being a nursery, they sold some of their nursery stock to the California Nursery. So we have a connection with them in many ways. So there. So I hope I left enough time for questions.
And the first question I have is, I've seen the roses, but I've never seen all those bulbs. Do you still have all those bulbs? Early spring in March or whenever?
You are talking about the perfect fundraiser. Because for one thing, as you all know, gophers, we have lots of gophers. Gophers love to eat tulips. All the times we've tried to plant tulips, they've been eaten. However, daffodils are not very tasty. And so having a daffodil fundraiser and planting large swaths of daffodils would be a really, really fun thing to do. So that may be coming up if anyone wants to help out with that fundraiser. I think it would be really fun to get the community involved in planting them and raising money to buy them. But we do not take out the roses and put daffodils every year. That would require the huge staff that they had at one time. It was truly amazing, a monumental task that they did every year to change over the nursery display gardens. Just monumental.
Yeah. Jim, do you see anybody on Zoom that wants to ask a question? And if you're in the congregation here, you can raise your hand.
I don't see any hands up in Zoom.
Okay, I have a couple here in the congregation.
Jenny, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Vijay.
Oh, Vise.
All the best. We enjoyed you.
I'm glad you could come.
Thank you. Welcome. Bye.
No question, just hello, Janet.
Vise's been helping us in the gardens. So
Here's B. Newell.
Good morning. I wanted to know about all the changes that have just occurred over there and what's going on with that.
which changes in particular are you thinking of? Because there are a lot of changes.
All of them. Really kind of just an overview. Like, for instance, the garden boxes, do they have empty bottoms or are they on concrete? The leaf box.
I think Rich Godfrey would be the right person to answer that question. And I see he's just taken himself off mute.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Janet, what a great presentation. Your history is really remarkable. And every time you give it, I learn more. It's really extraordinary what you and Joyce and all of you put together. The question about the planters, they do have screens under them to protect against the gophers, which we are still having a gopher parade every week.
I noticed that the planters do have dirt and plants in them now. I was just over there the other day. Any other questions?
Well, the leaves.
Go ahead.
Oh, I want to thank Janet again. The Leaf Center's got a long ways to go. It'll probably take a year before we get plants making it really look verdant, but we would love to stay within the whole context of history of the California Nursery Historical Park.
I have
Yeah,
a question
the,
of congregation.
sorry?
How do people apply to get a box over at the Leaf Garden to grow vegetables?
I'll come next week and give all that information, and I'll send out an email. It's basically through the website, and I'll share that with everybody in the congregation that might be interested.
Were you going to say something else, Janet, or?
Oh, I know some people have been concerned about the orchard in the back, and
Yeah, let us know.
it is, at this point, it is going to be replanted with, we're looking for varieties that were sold and tested there in the 1930s, 40s. So that includes some Burbank varieties of plums. There's some peaches. One of them is a Rio Oso gem, which if you follow us on Facebook, I managed to pick up a Rio Oso gem in Morgan Hill from Andy's orchard this year. Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. So that one was actually not a cover girl, but a cover fruit for one of the catalogs one year with 2 other peaches, which we'll try to get. So we can feature these old varieties that may not be available nowadays. And that I don't know if you all know the Albert Edder story with, let me see if I can go back to the picture, but Albert Edder's peaches are red fleshed, and you can buy them sometimes. Oh, there they go. Okay, you should see some red fleshed, some red fleshed peaches. Not peaches, apples. Sorry, I say red fleshed peaches. Anyways, we just had I just made this galette out of these are pink pearl apples. These were tested here in Niles. They tested 60 different varieties of Albert Edder's apples that he created up in Humboldt County. And all of them are really unusual. But these are most striking, color-wise. The others are striking taste-wise. But so we hope to be seeing some of these pink pearls. And I think Elaine at Leaf said that she's going to be planting some pink pearls trees there, as well as some other Edder apple trees. But so we're hoping to see some historical varieties in there, possibly as soon as next year, at least the baby trees. Yeah, I just talked to Rico Lardazabal, who's the landscape architect in charge of that, and he's all set to start getting these kinds of very unique apples. So the public will be able to enjoy these. They'll probably all be ripening at different times, so no one can come through and just take them all before you get to try them. So I'm really looking forward to this.
What are the current dreams for the nursery in the near future?
The current what's?
Current dreams.
Oh, current dreams. So I I can only tell you what's happening, because because you'd have to really invite a city person. Either Roger Ravenstad or Rico Lardizabal could tell you. And if you are interested in asking them, I would suggest that they would be good to invite to talk. So I know that at this point, they were planning on shoring up the packing shed so that they can put some of the equipment inside and then open up the doors so people can see some of the old nursery equipment. Joyce Bluford is going to be starting classes that use the old Adobe in the office pretty soon. So there'll be classes running in and out, and you can rent the old Adobe for events. I tried to find that information of how to do it. I don't know how to do it, but it's supposedly open for rentals, and you could, if someone's interested in renting the old Adobe, you can contact someone in the city. If you contact me, and I'll tell you who to contact. So let's see, what other things? We're hoping they don't do too many changes to the office gardens because they are so historic. There were plans to pretty much take out 1/3 of our roses, which the gardeners were kind of upset by. But we've been assured for now that those are going to stay. Oh, there's, where a leaf was, that whole area was flattened. And that is going to be an entry plaza with some roses and some flowering trees. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think they don't tell us everything. We kind of just hear stuff.
I have another question in the congregation.
Well, actually, it's a comment, is that if you live in Rancho Aurora, the squirrel population has gotten so large, they've eaten every piece of fruit that we are growing. So somebody's going to need to have to control the squirrel population before you get any apples for us to eat.
Yeah, I know. I can understand that. So, so Joyce Bluford has been, she runs hoot owl walks in the evenings. Actually, it's Karen Anderson, her employee, who runs them. So it's really important for people not to use rodent poison because the owls are the natural predators for the nighttime rodents. And if the owls eat poisoned rodents, then the owls die, and then we don't have any predators. So we noticed that the city had put out some poison. Joyce has sent them a note. Make sure that it's, because sometimes people have put out poison unofficially, which is pretty dangerous. But yeah, that's, I can sympathize. We lost so many rose bushes. They just eat the roots off. But maybe now that there's no construction in there, the rodents will be happy to move back. I mean, we were known as Gopherville or Gopher Town in the 1880s, and that was shortly after the last grizzly bear was killed in our area. So I think those lovely little rodents were grizzly bear food, and we don't have that predator any longer. And we have had mountain lions coming down in the last year. I think there were 2 that came down to our area. So it's a really difficult problem because we don't have that whole chain of the whole ecological chain.
Maybe,
and nor do I think we should have grizzly bears.
if we can't,
I'm sorry, what?
if we don't want to bring the grizzly bears back, which we probably don't, to this area anyway, great blue herons eat gophers.
Oh, maybe, yeah, and that's, so maybe we need a pond for them.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
any final questions? Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And yeah,
you're welcome.
For everybody to know, we do have Jim videotaping this whole presentation, and then he puts it on our Green Team webpage. And so you can look at it also, Janet. Just go to our Green Team webpage as part of the Niles Discovery Church web pages, and all this information will be there.